If you're a comic writer and you want to have a gay couple in comics, how do you handle those? It's weird that I'm asking this question because I mean, don't we all know the answer? You just do it. You don't you just do it, right? I don't think this is hard. Hey there, this is Perch. This is coming about a recent issue of the Future Foundation. Sorry, it took me a minute to get there. Number five. Always weird when a comic ends with number five. That's a sign that things going to rise somewhere. Anyway, in this comic, we get one of the Julie Power from the Power Pack back in the '80s, back in the day. She's grown up now, and she's gay, and she finds Ricky Barnes, who's from a different dimension, a female gender swapped version of Bucky Barnes that was kind of first introduced in Heroes Reborn, but this is not the same Ricky Barnes because there's a Ricky Barnes in many of the universes because Franklin, when he was creating the different universes and recreating the multiverse for the Fantastic Four, as part of the Fantastic Four, not all of them, because the Thing and the Human Torch were allowed on that adventure. So he was off with his dad and his mom, and they were creating new dimensions, carving up pieces of Molecule Man and dispersing them across the universe. For some reason, also making a version of the Maker, the evil clone of Reed Richards, who's not an evil clone, but just a version of him from an alternate division from the Ultimate Universe, who was also spread out. At any rate, the Ricky Barnes became in all these different dimensions because, as we know from Leech and Artie, the Invisible Woman is their favorite superhero, and they like women. So they made Ricky Barnes. Ricky Barnes is gay, and she is now dating Julie Power. Okay, cool. Actually, the proper way to say it is cool. There you go. Anyway, so it's funny because they build up this moment, and the two of them then have a big old kiss in the comic, and then Julie Powers wraps her legs around Ricky Barnes because she's so in love, which is also kind of weird because she just broke up like I don't know, like 9 issues ago in Runaways with Carolina, her girlfriend from, and then she was also flying planes because she didn't want to use her powers. This is all very confusing. This is a confusing video if you've not been following along with all these comics. Anyway, Julie Powers gay, dating Ricky Barnes. There you go. And the comic makes it a big celebration moment with a big splash screen of the two of them kissing, which is cool. Somebody say, "Oh, you have a problem with that?" I don't have a problem with this. I mean, great, they're kissing, nice. But what's weird to me is that gay characters in comics, because this is the second time now. Jeremy Whitley also had some lesbian couple in Unstoppable Wasp, and then they devoted a lot of page space to, oh, you're gay, great, you came out, you two are dating, yay, and they had a big Wasp was jumping around all excited and everything, and here's my question, and it's an honest, legitimate question. Why can't gay characters, lesbian characters, trans characters, any of those characters just be written like they're hanging out and part of the world? It seems like comics increasingly they want to cast it as a huge build-up moment. And part of this, to be fair, is because there have not been traditionally a lot of LGBTQ representation inside of comics. And so they're trying to do more with it. They're trying to, make it a big deal because it's a celebration, not of the fact that you've got some lesbian characters in the comics, but of the fact that we're finally getting to write and draw lesbian characters in the comics. So the celebration is kind of almost more for the writer and the artist and maybe the comic company and less for the actual characters or the story. Because as a story element, it doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense unless, because put it this way, I think I go back to Saga a lot where these things are concerned. Saga has had trans characters, has had gay couples, and they were written just very organically. There are a bunch of different couples fighting stuff in space, and things are going on, and they have a gay couple there, and it's celebrated, and it's cool, and it's a legitimate good moment. There's good characters. They run around the universe together. They, I feels, I don't know. In fact, in many ways, it's what kind of the people on the other side, people are like, no, I refuse to have any of this representation. It's their worst nightmare because the gay characters are normalized. They're just like you and me. They're out there just doing their thing. No big build up needed. But in Marvel, at times and sometimes DC, but usually Marvel, it's written like a completely artificial thing. It's written like these characters like, oh, we got to make a huge deal out of it. And if anything, it feels more fake. It feels more like the word is inorganic. It does not feel like a like this is a normal couple that we can be celebrating. It feels more like a very false, very pushed agenda, which, if anything, feels it creates a backlash to what we're trying to support. I mean, let's go back. What is writer Jeremy Whitley? What is he trying to do? What is he trying to convey or support? Well, the answer is, he's trying to. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it is, but I'm take a wild guess. And I think he's wanting to bring some LGBTQ representation to comics, and he's doing so with a couple, and he's making it a nice big moment so that people who are gay can say, "All right, awesome. There's a scene for me," or this. Here's a moment that is cool. People write letters like, that scene made me cry. It was just such a cool moment where we finally got to see this lesbian couple at the center of a comic, not shoved into the background, not for 2 seconds at the end of Star Wars, but actually on the center stage. So if your goal is to do that, to actually give some representation, put it out there and have it be a powerful, meaningful, long lasting moment, then I think Saga knows what it's doing. And these comics do not, because Saga is creating in depth, detail, normalized characters that are, three-dimensional, rich, complex, all the rest, and that you want to see succeed. When they die or when they succeed or when they do things, you have a legitimate, like, yeah, good for you moment. And it also tells a comic audience, hey, these people are just like you and me. It's nothing to be bigoted or weird about. They're just here. And the other feels, in my mind at least, exploitive. It feels like almost like bad porn, where it's like, hey, check out the two lesbians making out. It doesn't feel like a representation moment. It feels like kind of a gross exploitation moment. To me, that's how it comes across. Now, everybody will see it in their own way, and that's fine and cool. And I'm sure the scenes and everything else has its moments, but it just it feels like there's a like I started the video. Is there a way to do this? Yeah, I think there's an obvious way to do this. Make strong, three-dimensional, complex characters with flaws and strengths that can actually be like you and me, that actually feel like the world around them. Kind of what Marvel's always gone for. And in doing so, you are creating a character that's got long-lasting longevity. One of the things that I'm gonna forget Wiccan and Hulkling, Billy, and I'm forgetting the other guy's name. Sorry. One of the reasons the relationship has worked, or the relationship of Midnighter and Apollo has worked, is because they were gay. They are gay. Sorry, not were gay, and it's normal. They have a life, and they have successes and failures, and they have fights, and they have triumphs, and they're normal characters, and as a result, they're more loved, as opposed to, hey, we're going to have this character come out, and then we're going to have all the characters around them squeal and jump up and down and all the rest, and it's like that. You can tell it's like that character is never going to go anywhere, and whenever it does, it's going to feel inorganic and forced. And meanwhile, Midnighter and Apollo 10 years from now are still going to be a couple, still going to be a thing, and people are not only accepting it, but they root for that couple. I mean, can you imagine if they in DC? I mean, they're not using either character right now, but if those two characters become part of the Justice League or something, and they're doing their thing, and then they break up. Like people will feel that breakup. They'll be like, it'll be a moment for comic fans because they've grown up with these characters. But if they break up the two scientist girls in Unstoppable Wasp, I mean, who's going to care? I mean, honestly, will anyone care if we never see any of those characters again? We may not. And so I think if you're trying to do great representation, I think there's an obvious way to do it. I think a lot of writers have done it. I think there's plenty of material to copy from at this point. And I think you get to have a character that's long lasting. I mean, it's just me. If I was trying to create characters and do representation for that community, that's the way I would do it. I think that's the way that makes sense. And I think that's the way that does more, for the community. But what do I know? I don't know anything. What do you think? Does this make any sense? Am I just all wrong? Maybe I'm just, this is cis male screwing things up again. That's possible too. I'll be willing to accept it. Like in all things, tell me when I'm wrong. I'm okay being wrong. I like people to show me, I learn from videos where I put out a topic and people are like, hey, you didn't have the right take on this. Cool. I'm anxious to learn. I like learning. Anyway, what do you think? What are your thoughts on everything? Let me know. Uh, Otherwise, like, subscribe if you don't mind. Let's talk together. Follow me on Twitter at Comic Perch, and thanks for listening.